Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Gyeongseong Creature, Season 1, Episode 7. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. This is the Part 1 season finale of sorts. But a lot of crazy things. Obviously, we start off kind of in that in media res opening where you kind of see the ending, and we kind of rewind 16 hours to get to where we were. So obviously, we're trying to get everyone out the window. They tie some tablecloths together and is lowering everyone down one by one. Eventually, they're trying to send all the women first. So, and I'd love that Jang tried to get Cheok to go first, but she was like, go, because she, with the women, but she's like, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to defend this play. He's almost like, why do you have to fight me on everything? And she's like, she's even like, do you have feelings for me? He's like, what? Why would you even ask something like that? Just too embarrassed to admit he does. And so for her, it's kind of like, if you're not even willing, like, then why am I even getting so concerned? Like, I'm not going to accept your concern if that's like, if you're, but I think she knows that he does. I think when she turns around, she sees, you kind of see this little smile on her face because she likes putting him through the ringer. She likes busting his balls a little bit. But like, she knows that he likes her. She likes him too. So if he probably could have flipped the question on her, and I doubt she would have been able to answer either. But yeah, like slowly but surely, everyone is going one by one, and it says, obviously they've got a small time window. Problem is things get expedited because Hanada is on a mission, especially because it's specifically because Cheok is a part of this. It's because, in general, like, I'm going to hunt all of them down, but more specifically Cheok because, like, he wants to kill her, so he finally has permission from Kato to do it, so he's, like, all raring to go, so he's extra motivated. So he notices, like, the wing from, like, where they kept tuberculosis patients. He's like, okay, soldiers went that way, right? Apparently from another one of the soldiers that told him that. So why are the lights off? So someone goes to investigate, and the medical student, who we learn his name is Young Guan, ends up killing the guy. Good. Sadly, it would have been more perfect that they would have been able to do that quietly, but of course this was never going to be a foolproof, right? Of course something was going to go wrong. Kind of already felt it from the beginning, considering the little bit we got in the media res opening, where it's like, Jang is the last one to go out. He's going to stay behind to buy them time, isn't he? He's going to sacrifice himself. So, but because of the gunshot, there's a lot of attention drawn. So, obviously, young Guan is beating himself up because he's like, oh my god, we're all going to die. It's because of me. And it's like, no, you did the right thing killing that guy. It's just, and also with everything he's had to take abuse-wise from them, it's like, because if he didn't do that, that guy would have killed all of them. And it's like, him making any noise would have drawn more attention. So he did the right thing. It's just a sad situation of, like, they all wish they probably could have done that more quietly, but they're fortifying the hallway a little bit with as much stuff as possible, and everyone's trying to go down the rope as quickly as possible. And Jang wants to kind of be the one that holds down the fort, but once again, Cheok is like, no, I'm gonna help you whether you like it or not. Just shut up and let's work together. And even young Guan decides he wants to help out too. And I think he feels a personal responsibility of, I haven't been able to help as much as I would want to. And also it allows him to kind of get a little bit of his get back against him, like being forced in a situation. And it's like, I think for him, it's almost a situation I get to fight as a Korean rather than kind of like having to work for the Japanese army. But yeah, bullets are flying, and they're retaliating a little bit and killing some of the people. It's just like, you're like, oh, I wish Haneda was like one of the first ones that caught a bullet, but of course he's not, because he's one of the commanding officers, so he's going to be in the back barking out the orders. So sadly, he's not catching any bullets. But who does is Young Guan, which are like, of course he is, because that story is already, the moment they introduced that story, you knew it was going to end tragically, because it wasn't even Young Guan we were first introduced to. We were introduced to him in the same episode as his mom, but we're introduced to his mom being like, hey, this is my son, and then we learn this soldier that Cheok met ended up being him. So, we kind of learned that like a couple minutes apart from each other, like a couple scenes away from each other, but you knew that story was going to end tragically like that. And for him, it's just telling her his name, his address. It's like, tell my mom I miss her. like, because he knew he wasn't going to make it. And it's just like, damn. And just for Cheok, because she made that promise to him too, like, no, we'll get out of this together, because he was like, promise me you won't forget me, and she didn't. She's like, right, we're going to get out of this together. He was super helpful. He came in clutch last episode, helping them out in every way he possibly could, and it's just for it to end this way. But I guess it's just sad he can't go back to his mom. His mom, you know, it's just such a tragic situation, being forced into the situation he was in, and just to die like this. And mostly everyone's down the wall, and it comes down to our three. It's what was his name? Comrade Lee, the dude who had the dynamite and stuff. Him, Jang, and Sheok. And they make Sheok go down first, but the way Jang holds her hand, you're like, yeah, he's like, this might be goodbye, but I know if I say something about it directly, you won't go. And so it's just him and Lee, and he tells Lee, like, one of us has to stay, you go. Because Lee had that whole thing last episode where him and his dude talked mad shit about Jang, and now it's like, right, I was kind of like cowardly, but here you are. You were the person I told you that you were the on the fence person, and you're making such a courageous decision. You're willing to sacrifice yourself to make sure all these people get away. Because especially when Jung Juan said all that stuff last episode of like, right, you made the right choice. You saved all these people, and you made Commander Lee kind of feel bad because, yeah, he helped these people, set them free, but he didn't really save them. That was Jang who did. And so I think for him, he probably would have wanted to make sacrifice, but like Jang making that, I think he probably feels a little conflicted because it's like, right, I'm the one that's supposed to be all about this fight, but I'm the one, like, if I really had that conviction, I would have told Jang to go. But, you know, self-preservation kicked in, like, I want to save myself too, and he's giving me this opportunity, and it's just, he didn't fight it too much is my point, which I'm not trying to lambast him for it, but it's just like, you know, that probably leaves some confliction in him, considering like he's part of this resistance, and it's like, I feel like I didn't do enough of my part. I mean, Jang trusted you enough when he had Jungwon take everyone last episode, that it's like he trusted you to have a gun and stuff to help protect everyone. So, but yeah, Cheok doesn't want to leave, but she has to, because Lee's like, if you don't, all these people are going to get killed if we waste enough time. And even Gyeongseong, Mr. Go, is just like, Miss Noel had told him, even if Jang is not in the back, you have to leave on time or no one gets away. And he hates it so much, and so he decides, like, right, I have to follow the orders, because this is what Jang wants. I mean, he made sure to close the door, got rid of the rope, because that way they don't know because he wants to cover their tracks so they don't know they went out the window. Jang stands ready, firing off at everyone, and luckily he gets away through the air vents, which soldiers start piling into those air vents. Those are some pretty, kind of underestimate how massively big those air vents are. You still have to crouch down, but people aren't crawling, they are running. I mean, to be fair, it's like, you need to run in this situation. There's no point of like quiety and subtlety, Jesus, sorry, when you're running from your life. Like, they're like got you trapped, and he ends up falling into this particular, down the vents, and ends up falling into a bone pit. So I wonder, where did all those bodies come from? Were those failed experiments they like shot down there? Like, why? Like, what? Because I'm like, it can't be from feeding the monster, could it be? Why? Because that's not the area that the monster's ever really been in to eat. So that's why I'm like, where did all those bodies might just be failed experiments, people they've experimented on? Because those bones are clean. So either that flesh just rotted away, or that those bones were picked clean monster-wise, or I don't know why. I'm like, I guess that's just supposed to be the monster's eating area for whatever reason. Maybe. That's the only other explanation for that meaning bones to be that clean. They weren't even clothes. It's just bones. So maybe that's just where they dispose of bones and stuff. Like, maybe it's easier to dispose of that rather than the flesh and stuff. So maybe they let the flesh fall off the bones, and then they just toss the bones down there. I have no idea. But Jang finds himself there, and ultimately he ends up confronting Haneda. And the moment they cut away from it, we hear like 4 shots. I'm like, nah, Haneda's dead. But I wasn't even worried about Jang. I was like, Haneda's definitely dead. I'm like, yes, yeah, I wish we could have seen it. Oh, I wish Cheok could have been the one who put him down, but I'm also like, I'm glad that bastard got put down. It's so interesting too, because he had specific orders. I don't know if it came from Ichiro or whether it came from Kato, but he was ordered not to kill any of them, because they're like, right, those are all of our test subjects. We need to capture them. But he was on a rage of like, nah, like we need to make sure they die. He wanted to make an example, but it's like, he's like, I will answer to Ichiro afterwards. It's like, I guess he was like, I probably won't revere, like get that much of a punishment. Maybe he wasn't even thinking that far in advance because he was just so, once again, it's specifically about Cheok, but I think it's just all of them in general. It's like, I gotta wipe these, like, Jocelyn, I forgot the name that they had given the people from, Gyeongseong. It's like, need to wipe them out. He was just so caught up in that he wasn't even caring about the consequences that he would have suffered. But it's not a moot point now because you're dead. So I'm just like, oh yes, oh that sweet karma came back to bite you in the ass. You're up there claiming you're gonna kill everybody and you got. The only way that would have been more delicious if he got ripped apart by the monster. You're just like, that's why I'm like, that needs to be safe for Kato. Kato needs to be ripped apart by that monster. That has to be how that ends. Or gets turned into one himself. Like, that's what I was so certain. I brought it up, maybe, I think it was last episode, I brought that up, that I was so certain that that's what Chiaki was going to do. That she was going to, like, dump that stuff into Kato's mouth and make him transform. But no, she didn't, so. At the same time that was all going down, the escape and everything, Ishikawa is talking to Ichiro, and Ichiro's like, right, you kind of have no jurisdiction here to worry about what's going on. He's like, even though I'm here for certain someone, it's like, yeah, no exceptions. He's like, if you want to talk to anyone, you could talk to, like, a higher government power in, like, Japanese government, or you could talk to your wife, which he was like, what? It's like, yeah, your wife is kind of a major player in all of this, so even the person you're looking for, which, that's what I was like, you knew specific, that, once again, I go back to the point of, maybe Maeda changed her mind about Myung-jae, because she was like, right, you have to protect her. I'm like, if you wanted her protected, why wasn't that already kind of a given? Because I can't remember her specifically saying, like, I told you to protect her. She kind of made it seem like, at the time I was like, wait, that's confusing. Why would they have her in such a dangerous place if she was meant to be kept safe? Specifically until she had the baby. Maybe they probably weren't following. They were like, who cares? If something happens to her, something happens to her, we're not going to get too caught up in it. They probably weren't expecting Maeda to, like, I keep saying, like, Maeda, but it's just, like, probably just Maeda. It's probably how you pronounce it, but whatever. They probably assumed she was never going to actually show up there and check on things personally, so they probably thought they could get away with it until they're like, damn it, she's making a point. Like, if we don't do this, like, she's going to, like, keep popping in, asking about Myung-jae. So I'm like, all right, let's just do it. Let's keep her separate. Let's keep her safe until this baby is born, and then we can do whatever we want to her. Once again, still don't understand what that's about. Whether it's like a, hey, you can't have a child, but you want to have the child and make it seem like it was yours type of thing. Is it some weird way to keep your husband, even though you know he's having an affair? Once again, I can't talk on the conversation because, for one, I'm not Japanese. I don't know Japanese culture enough. There's obviously been that video of this interview where it's like, how does Japan feel about, prostitution and cheating? This ain't a one-to-one, and we're also talking about 70, borderlining 80 years ago. So, what the time frame was then, but it's kind of that thing of like, she's not trying to divorce her husband. Once again, I don't know what the rules of divorce were specifically in this time period for Japan, but she's sticking around and she's just trying to make it work, and I just don't know why. Because she seems like she's the one that's more in power, but maybe it's like, once again, it's the 40s and she's a woman, specifically a woman in Japan. Like, the rights of a woman in Japan, I don't know what those were like in the 40s. I'd assume, like, weren't that great for women in the past anyway, so I'd assume it'd be just as bad for a woman in Japan specifically too, but either way. So I guess maybe it's just like she needs that, like, prestige of being with such a high-ranking person in Japanese, like, military and stuff. She still continues to be the biggest enigma, is my thing of, like, we got pieces to it, but we just don't have the full puzzle, like, what the hell her intentions are. Now, like, we find out from Ichiro that, like, Maeda's the one who paid for everything. She allowed him experiment on people. She gave him this place. All they had to do was keep, like, a lot of that stuff in line, and it kind of fell apart. She was even going to try and demote Ichiro, which I'm like, I guess that probably would end up putting Kato in charge, and that worst of the two evils. Like, Ichiro's a bastard, but I think Kato would be worse. But Evil A and Evil B. They're kind of still on the same level, but I feel like Ichiro's the tiniest smidgen less of the lesser evils, but by the smallest percentage. Not even a 1%, like by point some percentage lesser of an evil. It's almost indistinguishable. There's no like winning in any capacity. So I don't know. That's what I was kind of wondering if that's what they're kind of setting up. But Ichiro kind of, for now, has secured his job despite the many screw ups. But anyway, we'll circle back. Well, I'll go ahead and finish that. So, because he was able to present Maeda with all the results of the experiment, specifically what happened to Cheok's mom, which we also find out is like, oh, this is the woman you told us to take care of years ago. So I'm like, wait, what's your connection with Cheok's mom? I'm like, wait, are we going to find out you betrayed her? Did you kind of turn on her years ago? I was like, we're not like. I was about to say, like, she seems like she's on the younger side. I was about to say, there's no way she's like actually Cheok's real. I was like, no, that can't be. Once again, she's Japanese versus her mom, Cheok's mom being Korean. I'm like, I don't see that happening. But I'm like, what's the connection there? Why specifically her? Because it could have been that she was pregnant, because obviously she long since already had Cheok. Not unless she was also pregnant again at the time, and maybe Jungwon and didn't know, neither Cheok. I don't know. Like, what is that connection there? Because, so, was she repeating history again? Like, did she not know what had happened to Cheok's mom the entire time? It's like, because now this is like her first time confronting it. Because, once again, Cheok's been a part of this for like, her mom's been a part of this for 10 years. So I'm like, why would you be... I'm not understanding what role that has in all this. Why did you specifically choose her to be looked after? Also proving Myung-jae's circumstances would have eventually followed suit at some point in time. Ironically enough, they kind of do, but we'll talk about that later. But anyway, circling back to what I was bringing up, Ishikawa left, but he saw, like, after everything with Ichiro, he had left, but he saw Gapyeon in the truck, so he's like, okay, he's got all the people, so they left, and as they were leaving, like, they got far enough away, Myung-jae got out, and the one, she, like, came running over to him, like, he's not gonna do something crazy like kill her, but he hugs her, but then he smells her, and he just puts his head away, and like, oh, it's not even love, it's more of like, she's kind of, it's weird to say and kind of effed up, but I feel like she's just a plaything to some extent. It's not like that he was so disgusted by her, like, oh, you need to bathe and stuff like that, but it's like, I don't know, you think after everything you thought you lost her, you'd be more embracive of her, but it's like, it was your people that put her through that. In fact, it was your own wife that did it. So, but the moment he kind of gives the go-ahead to his other people, I was like, you backstabbing bitch. That asshole is going to screw you over, which I said from the beginning, that's most likely what he was going to do. I said, Jang doesn't know for sure that the moment he hands over Myung-jae, like, that Ishikawa is just going to let all things be good. It's like, he will remove you from the equation because, for one, you're witnesses to what he did. You're a loose end that could tie back and he could get the blowback. So that's why he, like, needs to get rid of any witnesses that are aware of all of this. But to be fair, when you saw Mr. Gu, like, see the trucks behind him, he kept on going and he made... I was like, right, they're prepared for this because what did Miss Nawal say? Was that last episode or episode before last when Juntaek's mom, dad met with, was it Ichiro? What did she say? She told Mr. Gu, I don't trust anyone. So she was already ready for this eventuality. I'm sure even Jang knew, like, he might try and, like, screw us over. So they probably knew that was a possibility. Might not have just been even Jang. Like, Nawal might have, like, calculated for that. So they were prepared. So we found out what was all being set up last episode. There's a celebration, and it's all on the Golden Treasure, in the sense of everyone's out in the streets partying, celebrating, getting drunk. And it blocks off the streets enough for them to kind of get by. It's meant to draw as a distraction. So they were able to slip away, and by the time they catch up, they arrest Mr. Gu, but there's no one else in the back. And he's even saying, like, right, gave Akiko to Ishikawa. We gave him exactly what he wanted, which is exactly what happened. But he never saw anyone else in the back truck. I wonder, did Myung-jae say anything at the time? He's like, oh, so how many other people are in the back of the truck? He knew that Jang most likely let other people out. Probably even thought Jang would be in the back, but whatever the case may be, like he's a backstabbing bastard. But yeah, you like I said, I call that from a mile away that you couldn't trust him. That who'd say he would actually hold up his end of the bargain. But the tailor came in to help him, and people at his shop ended up getting everyone switched out in clothes. The people that kind of act as drivers for those vehicles distracted them long enough and end up kind of secretly getting everyone out of Gyeongseong. And like I figured as much, Mr. Gu gets arrested because they're going to torture him. Like I said, they were foreshadowing that because of the conversation between him and Miss Noel, and it's like and he made that promise, so we'll see if he's able to keep it under extensive torture. But it sucks that it came down to this. It's like we did exactly what you wanted, and you're gonna backstab us anyway. And Mr. Wall had told because Mr. Lee had said like, hey, like Mr. Jang didn't make it out, but did he plan all this? And she's like, you might not know this, but nothing goes down like whatever you want to people, things, even someone's life to get it in Bonjeong, you have to go through Mr. Jang. So it's like everything is possible because of him, kind of showing like, and all these people showed out because these are people he has connections with. His power and connection proved so worthy in this situation. All that he was able to accomplish, getting all these people out, and then you look at picking up with June Taek, that he was just dropped off, and even Noel kind of gave him the nod out because it's like, right, they still managed to do all that. I don't know if the guy that made him confess was in on it or what, but they, like, I guess Ichiro gave him the go ahead to let him go. He still gave out his entire group, not unless that guy was an insider and he destroyed all that. But yeah, like Jun Taek is out and he's a hot mess. He's like begging, like, please don't kill me. He doesn't even recognize he's been rescued. Once again, it wasn't even like physical torture. They just, once again, probably started him out and probably like dehydrated him. But once again, they only gave him an hour, so it was more like psychological like torture that they did. Because you can break someone, you don't even just have to physically hurt them. You can just mentally, like the worry and concern and fear consuming you can do. The human mind can do a lot of damage. I mean, obviously it has major effects on your body, like, so. That's, like I said, it's just the irony that Jang, who wasn't a part of the cause, ended up being the one to save the day, and the two major people who were a part of the cause didn't. That being Lee, who that dynamite's still potentially in play, but I don't know what role that would potentially play going forward. And then Jun Tae basically sold out the entire group that he was a part of, so we'll see how that plays out. But Ishikawa's people were not happy, so they're like, right, spread out, find anyone that's suspicious, and he just start. I mean, once again, they've already treated the people of Korea like shit anyway, so they're using any excuse like, oh, like you're in the streets and bashing people. The lady who works at that bar, who set everything and who helped set everything in motion, we see her get grabbed up at one moment. They're just beating people up. Once it doesn't matter, man or woman, they don't care. They're not even looking for people anymore. It's just, hey, these are people out in the streets having fun, celebrating, but it's like, oh, you're all guilty. You must be a part of this plot or something. And it's like, you didn't find anything, and you won't because everyone's already kind of scattered to the winds. And obviously you have the whole situation with Cheok with her dad, and it's like, she's wondering if Jang is actually okay, which he is, but she doesn't know. She can only hope. And it is ironic that Myeongja has been returned to Ishikawa, and all this is happening while the cherry blossoms fall. So I think it's also supposed to be poetic where, right, that was supposed to be his timetable and he met it, but he won't be here to reap the benefits of it. There were no benefits to be reaped anyway. But, it's also, I guess, supposed to be a little symbolic in her mind of, did he die? The cherry blossoms falling at the same, it could be a symbol of him being gone. So there's a lot on that front. We also have the situation with Kato, like he comes back and he finds the cup empty. It's like, right, so there's been, the soldier tells him there was 4 people that were in this room. Jang, Cheok, Soma, and Myeongjae. but he doesn't tell Ichiro because he's like, why are you tripping about someone drinking out of this cup? We need to focus on this. Kato's not bothering explaining, well, there's part of the Naijin was, one of them was in that cup. I wonder who drunk it, which you're like, that's an issue because that means one of those creatures, I mean, depending on how it plays out, you might need, because don't you need a serum to go along with it? Someone that's got that inside of them is out and about. Even without the ending, I was like, it's got to be Myeongjie. Because for one, under those circumstances, I don't see Soma, Cheok, or, obviously Cheok wouldn't drink it after everything she knows, but neither would Jang. Like, it's not a moment that's like, take a pause and drink something. Like, no one's thinking that. But she is pregnant, so Soma could have handed her that because he's like, oh, he has children of its own, so he probably goes like, oh, go ahead, drink this. So either she made that choice, or most likely Soma handed it to her because she was probably like exhausted and thirsty and just kind of run down. So it's like, but yeah, even without the ending, without this stinger, I was like, yeah, it's obvious that it's going to be Myeongjie because she's also pregnant, so it makes it even more sadly poetic, which I'm also like, also poetic considering Ishikawa tried to fuck everybody over, that it'd be like, yeah, you went through all this, that the girl you wanted rescued, karma being the bitch that it is, that it's striking you back by having her turn to a monster. Maybe she'll end up ripping you apart. Ironic too, because this is all part of the research and everything that your wife funded. So karma's coming back to you in multiple ways in this regard. And we also had this sad aspect too of, we do get the conclusion with Young Gwan's mom that they returned the like sewing machine that she had sold to Golden Treasure for them to find her son, but they returned that and the thing that he had given Chaoke. So you're just Cheok, and you're like, damn, dude, that sucks. And you just see her breaking down like that. At least she has some closure. It's not the closure she wanted. She just wanted her son back. Doesn't make it easier, but at least she knows. There's so many people who don't know. I mean, Janitor Dude, because we haven't seen Janitor Dude or Sachimoto in a hot minute. So I'm assuming they're still working there at the hospital, but Janitor Dude, the only person who knows about his brother is Jun Taek, so he figured that out, but I don't know if the Janitor Dude will ever find out, especially with the state that Jun Taek's in right now. So just a lot of very, very, very interesting developments. They've got the creature locked back up again, constantly being drowned in nitrogen, so that's kind of under control and made us now aware of the creature and what's kind of being developed, so maybe she'll be a little more hands-on now that there's proof of concept of what they've been working on. I'm not sure where that's all going to go, specifically where her part in all this is going to play out. You just hope that everyone that's a part of this will get theirs. And I brought it up specifically, like, we're still a couple months out before Korea is able to get from underneath Japan. Like I said, it's around August or so when they're able to kind of push Japan out. Because I think, like I said, I don't know if it's a direct correlation, but obviously around that, I think it happens like a little bit before. I can't remember the time. I think it's like April 6th, isn't it? What I looked up before. That's when the atom bombs got dropped in Japan on Nagasaki. Isn't it Nagasaki and Hiroshima? So I looked it up. It's I didn't realize the bombs were dropped on different days. It makes sense, but one was dropped on the 6th, one was dropped on the 9th. Korea got their independence on the 15th of August. My whole point is just like, they're still, because it still probably should be around March is where we were at the first episode, so it might be pushing into April right now, but it's still like a couple months out before they get from underneath Korea gets from underneath Japan's control. So it's kind of my whole point. So it's still kind of an uphill battle, and I'm curious to see where these stories kind of take place in relation to that. Will we skip like a couple months? I mean, Jang being in the circumstances that he's in right now, I don't see them time skipping a couple months. I feel like we're going to stay in this time frame pocket, but who knows how that's going to play out. I mean, because that also ties in with, like, Jang, what he had said to Cheok, that, you know, it's like, right, I'm going to keep fighting, and I'm going to make them kind of understand, like, them never forgetting what they did to us and kind of paying them back. I'll never stop making them pay back for what they've done to us. for Koreans or Joseons as a whole. So it feels like that's where we're really going to be heading in that direction. Like I said, I'm curious to see if they're going to do any time skipping those couple months and get closer to those major events in real life, or will that be kind of post like episode 10 type of things of like that'll just be like an epilogue to the show. I don't know. As you know, this is part one. Part two will include the next 3 episodes. I don't know if this is going to be a one and done or not, or whether there's going to be whether there's going to be enough open for it to continue. I don't know what the circumstances are going to be. I'm so curious to see where the next 3 episodes takes us. Obviously, it is almost midnight at the time of me recording this, so less than time zone aside, roughly we're still obviously a week away because Friday is when the next 3 episodes drop. So I'm very, very excited to see where part 2 takes us with all of this and where things go next, considering most of the cast is outside of the hospital except for our bad guys, except for Jang being the inside, like I said. So how that all correlates, what the time frame is going to be like, how are you going to get Jang out, how do you even approach that situation, what happens with Myungjae, who is now infected. So we'll ultimately have to wait to see where all of this ends up taking us when the next 3 episodes drop. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.